Alrighty. It's another awesome game against DJ Juzam DK. Actually played this guy a fair amount in the past. In my experience, he plays decent decks. Pretty much knows what he's doing, so I was expecting a pretty good match. He's playing Crossis. It's funny, actually, I'm playing against two black-red-blue commanders in a row. This one, I don't think is quite as good as Gwendolyn, although I guess it's not even more castable. Given that it costs 6, there's no way this guy's as good as Gwendolyn. He says, "We meet again," and I say, "Indeed." And I have a sick draw. The only thing that would make this draw a little better is if this was just like a fetch land or something, instead of a treetop village. But he's going first, and there's my fetch land. So this draw is just fantastic. I don't expect to have any opposition at all this game, honestly. Game plan is to cast Wirewood Hivemaster next turn and Tree Speaker to get 3 guys next turn. Probably bounce whatever he does. Maybe it's a Signet or something, and cast Edric and attack and draw 3 and be off to the races. So he's got a little acceleration, Fellwar Stone. Very fair. That sort of changes my whole game plan, actually, much to my detriment. He says, "I'm playing the beta client. It's really laggy." I said, "Yeah, I hear nothing but bad things about it. I've tried it myself. Very unfamiliar to me still. Not fun to use. I'll just stick with this thing until they force us to change." So I cast Predator. I mean, to eat up his Fellwar Stone, and if very worst, force out a Wrath of God type thing, maybe. He's got something much better, though. Crystal Shard, and I'm tapped out. Blech. Horrible. Very happy to have Sol Ring, though. If I did not have Sol Ring in play, this thing would just be owning me right now, based on the way my draw is. So, I'm just going to put out Trigon again, and hope he doesn't have a solution to it. And he casts Control Magic. Obnoxious. But fortunately, we've got Into the Royal and the backup Snapcaster Mage. So I think for a while here, and about whether or not I want to Into the Royal my guy with Kicker, and I decided that he would just, provided he's intelligent about it, he would just bounce it with Crystal Shard in response to prevent me from drawing a card. So I'd just be paying 2 mana for no reason. And with that in mind, figuring he would see the play, I decided to just cast it normally. That gets it back, but unfortunately, he says, "I'm still waiting for leagues." I guess that's online. At this point, I have to kind of abandon the Predator plan, especially because if I cast it now, he just goes untap, end of turn, unsummon, untap, unsummon, and I'm just sitting on my hands. So I decided I'm going to go with the Edric plan. Honestly, at this point, I kind of want to just get some guys into play and hope that he just taps out for Crossis, and I can Snapcaster, bounce, and then attack with my guys to get the ball rolling. I am not liking my position right now at all, though. I feel really uncomfortable here, especially with 3 cards in his hand. I'm just kind of getting owned by this right now, actually. End up turning on summons, and I pay. So he's got 6 mana. And Tezzeret. God, so brutal with this combo. Oi. Double unsummon anyone? So sick. And I draw a Remand, which often is useful, but at this position, it's not exactly what I want. And now this Treetop Village really hurts too, just in terms of limiting my options right now. So I decide, you know what? I'm just going to draw cards. When in doubt, draw extra cards. Hope you draw something awesome, or your opponent makes a mistake. I get Garrick right off the bat. Garrick is phenomenal here, just for extra mana reasons to deal with the Crystal Shard. Unfortunately, he's got the 5 counter Tezzeret. I don't know if he's got Shackles in his deck, but he's already got 2 blue mana up. If he's got Shackles, I am effectively a dead man here, because he would just shackle my best guy. And that'll be it. So he's just thinking. He searches for a Sol Ring, and I'm very happy to see him remove only 1 counter here. Puts out Chromatic Lantern and casts Crossis. And look at me, I've got Remand, and he makes a terrible play right here. In response, with Remand still on the stack, he bounces Edric, and I've got a mana floating in my pool. So yeah, I'll pay. And that is a gigantic shift right there. A huge shift in momentum. Although I did have the ability between the village and the speaker to kill off Tezzeret anyway, it's a huge blow. I say, lots to consider, he says, after my fail move. Once again, I do have to agree. So, first things first, get out Garrick. Untap land. Activate village. Send speaker and village at Tezzeret and attack for 2 with Edric and draw a card. And I get my own Tezzeret. So things just got very interesting. So I'm going to brainstorm here and gamble, given that I can't really, I'm still a little concerned about the Crystal Shard, but since it's tapped out anyway, you could only unsummon one thing on my turn, and the Snapcaster Mage can't return anything of meaning anyway, because I only have 2 mana. So I decide to brainstorm, and I get a hell of a brainstorm. Island that I needed, and Arcane Denial. So lucky. That's why you got to trust your deck. He says when it's bad when you get outdrawn by a weenie deck as control. And to classify my Edric deck as a weenie deck, I think is a fairly unfair characterization. And granted, it's got creatures because it needs them, but it's as much a control deck as his deck, if not more. I mean, what, 3 Planeswalkers here, counterspell in hand, counterspell in the graveyard, bounce. It's no weenie deck. It's because I got guys. So I tell him it's not exactly a weenie deck. He says true. So he tutors. I'm thinking, like, what the hell is he going to get? Maybe Decree? Cycle Decree or something? What does he get? But I find out quite quickly here. Taps out and casts All Is Dust. A very weird card to be playing with, in my opinion, in a 3-color control deck. With a 3-color commander and control magic and Tezzeret and stuff, but I guess here it's pretty devastating, right? 3 for 1. Not so much denial. And now I've got him really right where I want him. So he unsummons Edric, that's fine. So what do you do here? I'm going to just pause and let the viewers consider the options. Tezzeret in hand, Jace in hand. Opponent is tapped out completely, but has 4 artifact mana in play. And I have Edric. So I have a lot of choices. I could play Edric, activate Treetop Village, attack for 2 and draw 2, which is effectively accomplishing the same thing as Jace, and then untap land and use Snapcaster to protect my board a little bit. That's certainly a very viable option. But I am worried about the 4 cards in hand, and I want to win this game decisively. So this is what I do. Level up the Tree Speaker. Cast Tezzeret. Get Winter Orb. Even though he's got 4 artifact mana in play, I feel that this is totally the right thing to do, because it effectively destroys 5, it almost destroys 6 lands. And even with 4 cards in hand, I don't really see him realistically combating what I do when he is effectively limited to 1 spell per turn. I mean, he could untap a land, play a land, and cast his big guy, and we all, looking at my hand, we know that that's no solution. Plus I've got Garrick in play to compound the Winter Orb strength, and I've got plenty of other things that synergize so well with it too, especially along with the Predator. So I put the Predator out. Figuring this is his one opening to have another Wrath of God type effect, Damnation or something. He says mean. I agree, Juzam. Crossis. Not a viable answer. So even this thing is shut off now. So I just play Jace. Unsummon Crossis, untap 2 land, send Predator, and eat the Soul Ring. So now he's down to just 3 mana on his turn. And I go get a Lotus Petal because I want to be able to do Snapcaster shenanigans if necessary. I could have gotten the Mana Crypt, but I figure the Petal is effectively the same thing. So he's getting just trapped further and further behind the situation. Now he just untaps and says go. And off Jace this turn. Nail in the coffin. Opposition shows up. I attack. And he has Wipe Away, which is, I guess, decent, although might have wanted to save that for the Winter Orb instead, given that all of your lands are tapped. So I play opposition, and I tell him this could be checkmate. It certainly is. So I play regrow, remand, play another guy, upkeep, tap, lantern. And he says, GG, Winter Orb killed me. Believe it or not, a Winter Orb, even with Soul Ring, Fellwar Stone, and Chromatic Lantern in play, can still absolutely seal the game. That's just how insane this card is. Like I've said before, Edric, best Winter Orb deck in the format. Hope you enjoyed the game. Pretty cool little comeback there. More to come.